Have you ever felt trapped in a cycle of frustration, anxiety, or dissatisfaction, no matter how hard you try to improve your life? What if the source of this unrest isn't external, but something within you, your own ego, quietly shaping your thoughts, decisions, and emotions? The ego is subtle. It convinces you that you are your accomplishments, your reputation, your judgments, or even your fears. It lures you into comparison, approval-seeking, and self-deception, keeping you disconnected from your authentic self. Living under the ego's domination means constantly reacting, striving, and measuring yourself by external standards, while your true potential remains untapped. But there is a way to step out of this invisible cage. By recognizing the signs of egoic control, you can begin reclaiming your inner freedom, your power, and your authentic voice. This video will guide you through the key signs that reveal when the ego has too much influence over your life, helping you awaken to conscious self-awareness and begin living beyond the ego. If you feel ready to see the ego clearly and take your first steps toward true inner freedom, subscribe, like this video, and join us on this journey of self-discovery. The ego is often misunderstood. It is not just pride, arrogance, or self-importance. It is a complex construct within the psyche that governs how we perceive ourselves, interpret the world, and interact with others. The ego constantly seeks control, validation, and reassurance, convincing us that our identity depends on what we do, what we have, or what others think of us. When the ego dominates, it creates an illusion of fragile identity built on approval, comparison, and fear. It thrives on separation, convincing you that your worth is external and your security depends on managing life perfectly. Every judgment you make, every criticism you feel, and every anxious thought can be traced back to the ego's subtle influence. Carl Jung emphasized that the ego is necessary. It organizes our experience and helps us navigate the world, but when it rules unchecked, it blocks growth, creates resistance, and fosters dissatisfaction. The more you identify with the ego, the further you drift from your authentic self and the inner peace that comes from awareness and integration. Awareness of the ego's mechanisms is the first step toward liberation. By recognizing its patterns, you begin to disentangle yourself from unconscious reactions, reclaiming your inner power, clarity, and freedom. The ego rarely announces its presence. Instead, it operates subtly, shaping your thoughts, behaviors, and decisions without conscious awareness. It thrives on comparison, validation, and control, influencing every interaction, every emotional reaction, and every desire. You might feel frustrated, restless, or anxious, yet not realize that the ego is steering these feelings. Common signs of egoic dominance include the constant need to prove yourself, seek approval, or compare your life to others. Perhaps you notice patterns of overthinking, self-criticism, or the compulsion to control outcomes to feel safe. These are not random behaviors. They are the ego's way of maintaining a sense of identity and defending against perceived threats to yourself. The ego also thrives in fear. The fear of failure, rejection, or being judged. It constructs mental barriers, keeps you focused on external success, and distracts you from your authentic desires. Yet, recognizing these patterns is liberating. Awareness allows you to step back, observe your reactions, and begin disentangling your life from unconscious egoic influence. By identifying these signs, you gain a roadmap to reclaiming your freedom, making conscious choices, and stepping closer to the authentic self that lies beyond the ego's control. Living under the influence of the ego comes at a hidden cost. When the ego dominates, it creates a constant sense of tension, anxiety, and dissatisfaction. You may achieve external success, maintain control over circumstances, or receive validation from others, yet still feel incomplete, disconnected, or restless. The ego thrives on separation, making you identify with a constructed self rather than your authentic inner being. This constant need for approval and control keeps you in cycles of stress and reactivity. Every criticism you perceive, every failure you fear, and every comparison to others reinforces the ego's grip. Emotional energy is diverted toward defending the ego, leaving less room for creativity, intuition, and authentic growth. Relationships can suffer as well, because the ego often projects its insecurities onto others, creating conflict, misunderstandings, or disconnection. The psychological costs extends beyond the mind. Chronic stress, anxiety, and dissatisfaction manifest in the body and affect overall well-being. By living unconsciously under the ego's dominance, you miss out on true presence, clarity, and inner freedom. Recognizing the ways the ego limits your life is the first step toward liberation. Awareness allows you to reclaim energy, shift perspective, and begin making choices aligned with your authentic self. The ego is a master of disguise. It convinces you that the identity you've constructed based on achievements, status, or approval is your true self. Yet beneath the surface lies a deeper, authentic self that has been overshadowed by egoic patterns. The ego creates illusions of strength and control while keeping you disconnected from your inner wisdom, creativity, and genuine desires. When dominated by the ego, you may feel compelled to perform, please others, or maintain a certain image, believing that these behaviors define your worth. In reality, the ego is a protective mechanism, keeping you safe from vulnerability and uncertainty, but it simultaneously blocks self-discovery and fulfillment. You end up living a life shaped more by fear and external expectation than by your own truth. Jung taught that the ego is not the enemy. It is part of the psyche, but the danger arises when it becomes the primary driver of decisions and self. By observing the ego's influence, you can start to peel away the layers of illusion. Reconnecting with your authentic self, awareness is the key. Once you recognize the ego's mask, you can begin to act from a place of inner truth, freedom, and conscious choice rather than unconscious reaction. Awakening to the ego's influence is the first step toward freedom. The ego rarely announces itself. It operates subtly, shaping your thoughts, desires, and decisions without you realizing it. When left unchecked, it keeps you trapped in cycles of fear, comparison, and reactive behavior. Becoming aware of these patterns is a profound act of self-liberation. Ego awareness means observing your reactions, thoughts, and emotions without judgment. Notice when you feel defensive, anxious, or compelled to prove yourself. These moments are signals that the ego is asserting control. By shining the light of conscious awareness on these patterns, you create a space to step back, reflect, and choose actions aligned with your authentic self rather than egoic impulse. This awakening is not instant. It requires patience, introspection, and honesty. Yet, as you become more conscious of the ego's grip, you gain clarity, emotional freedom, and inner peace. Each recognition of egoic behavior is an opportunity to reclaim your power, align with your true values, and cultivate a life guided by presence and self. Reclaiming your personal power begins with conscious choice. The ego thrives on automatic reactions, habitual thinking, and unconscious patterns. To regain control, you must first observe these patterns without judgment. Notice when fear, comparison, or the need for approval drives your decisions. Awareness is the doorway to transformation. Next, practice mindful reflection. Pause before reacting and ask yourself, is this choice coming from my authentic self or from the ego? Journaling, meditation, and quiet introspection can help illuminate the shadowed corners of the mind where egoic influence thrives. Another critical step is embracing vulnerability. The ego fears uncertainty and exposure, so by allowing yourself to be seen and feel discomfort, you weaken its grip. Release attachment to validation, status, and perfection, and shift your focus toward inner alignment rather than external approval. Over time, these practices cultivate resilience, clarity, and authentic power. By reclaiming your personal power, you step out of egoic domination and live from a place of conscious choice, presence, and true self-expression. The ego and the authentic self are not enemies. They are parts of the same psyche, each serving a purpose. The ego provides structure, identity, and a sense of control, but when it dominates, it overshadows the authentic self, preventing genuine self-expression and inner peace. True growth comes from recognizing the ego's role while allowing your authentic self to guide your actions. Finding this balance requires conscious reflection and honest observation. Notice when decisions are driven by fear, pride, or the desire for validation. These are egoic patterns. Then, ask yourself what action aligns with your core values and authentic desires. This practice gradually shifts the center of influence from the ego to the authentic self. When balance is achieved, you can navigate life with clarity, creativity, and inner freedom. Challenges no longer provoke reactive behaviors. Instead, they become opportunities to act from your true self. By integrating awareness of the ego with the wisdom of your authentic self, you unlock personal empowerment, emotional resilience, and a deeper connection to your own purpose. At this point in your journey, it's time to pause and reflect. The ego often operates silently, influencing your thoughts, emotions, and decisions without your conscious awareness. Take a moment to consider which patterns in your life feel compulsive, reactive, or exhausting. Where might the ego be controlling your choices or perceptions without you realizing it? Recognizing these patterns is not about judgment. It's about awareness. Awareness creates space for conscious decision-making, allowing you to step out of automatic, ego-driven behaviors and reconnect with your authentic self. Reflect on situations where the ego might be steering your actions or shaping your emotional responses. If this insight resonates, like this video and subscribe to the channel to continue exploring how to identify and move beyond egoic patterns. By taking this step, you are reclaiming your attention, your energy, and your power, and setting the stage for deeper transformation as you progress through the rest of this video. Transformation begins with awareness. When you recognize the ego's influence in your thoughts, emotions, and behaviors, you open the door to true personal freedom. The ego thrives in the unconscious, keeping you trapped in patterns of fear, judgment, and comparison. By bringing these patterns into conscious awareness, you begin to reclaim the energy and clarity that were previously consumed by the ego. This process requires honesty and courage. Notice when your reactions are automatic or defensive, when your choices are driven by approval, pride, or fear. Each recognition is a step toward self-mastery, allowing you to respond thoughtfully rather than react impulsively. Awareness transforms habitual egoic responses into opportunities for conscious choice, enabling you to act from your authentic self rather than egoic compulsion. As you cultivate this awareness, you begin to experience inner freedom, greater emotional balance, and alignment with your true values and purpose. Transformation is not instant, but each conscious observation chips away at the ego's dominance, allowing the authentic self to emerge more fully and guide your life with clarity, power, and presence. Awareness alone is not enough. True transformation occurs when you integrate these insights into daily life. Observing egoic patterns and understanding their influence is the first step, but acting consciously on this awareness allows you to live with authenticity and freedom. Each moment becomes an opportunity to choose rather than react, breaking free from the automatic habits of the ego. Integration requires consistent reflection and practice. Pause before reacting to challenges or conflicts, and ask yourself if your responses are driven by fear, pride, or the desire for control. Replace automatic behaviors with actions aligned with your inner values and authentic desires. This practice gradually rewires your mind, reducing the ego's grip and strengthening your capacity to live consciously. As you weave these lessons into everyday life, relationships, work, and personal goals begin to transform. Decisions become intentional, emotional responses become measured, and a sense of inner clarity emerges. By integrating ego awareness into your daily habits, you reclaim your personal power, creating a life led by conscious choice rather than unconscious compulsion. True personal growth requires understanding the delicate balance between the ego and the authentic self. The ego provides structure, identity, and protection, but when it dominates, it masks the authentic self and limits genuine expression. Recognizing the ego's influence allows you to differentiate between reactive, ego-driven behavior and actions that align with your true essence. Harmony is achieved through conscious observation. Notice when you act from fear, pride, or desire for validation, and pause to realign with your authentic self. Each moment of awareness strengthens your connection to your core values, intuition, and inner wisdom. This balance does not eliminate the ego, but integrates it, allowing it to serve as a tool rather than a dictator. Living in this harmony leads to clarity, emotional freedom, and resilience. The authentic self can emerge fully, guiding decisions, relationships, and personal growth. By aligning the ego with your higher self, you create space for empowerment, presence, and fulfillment, stepping into a life that reflects your deepest truth rather than the projections of the ego. Awareness of the ego is only the beginning. Sustaining this awareness requires deliberate practices. To prevent the ego from regaining control, you must develop habits that reinforce conscious observation and intentional action. Reflection, journaling, meditation, and mindful breathing are powerful tools to stay attuned to ego-driven impulses before they dominate your decisions. Another crucial step is cultivating emotional resilience. Recognize moments when the ego reacts defensiveness, judgment, or the need for approval and consciously choose to respond from the authentic self. Each small decision to act consciously strengthens your ability to live free from unconscious patterns. Integration also involves embracing discomfort and vulnerability. The ego resists uncertainty, yet growth emerges when you allow yourself to face challenges, admit mistakes, and release attachment to perfection and control. By consistently practicing these steps, the ego's influence diminishes, and your authentic self becomes the guiding force in your life. True transformation occurs when awareness is translated into daily life. By observing the ego's influence and choosing consciously, you begin to reshape your thoughts, behaviors, and emotional responses. Each interaction, decision, and reflection becomes an opportunity to act from your authentic self rather than reacting automatically to egoic impulses. Conscious living requires courage and patience. The ego resists change, clinging to old patterns and familiar reactions. But as you consistently choose awareness over automaticity, you rewire your habits, strengthen self, and reclaim the energy that was previously tied up in ego-driven behaviors. Over time, living consciously fosters emotional clarity, resilience, and presence. Decisions become intentional, relationships deepen, and your life aligns with your core values and inner wisdom. Transformation is not a single moment, but a continuous practice of observing, reflecting, and integrating. By living consciously, you step into a life of freedom, authenticity, and true personal power. At this point, it's time to pause and reflect. The ego's influence on your life is subtle but pervasive, shaping thoughts, emotions, and behaviors without your awareness. Take a moment to identify patterns. Where are you reacting automatically, seeking approval, or resisting discomfort? Recognizing these patterns is the first step to liberation and authentic living. Reflection alone isn't enough. You can take action. Start observing your reactions daily. Ask yourself if your choices come from fear, pride, or the need for validation, and realign with your authentic self. Even small, conscious decisions weaken the ego's grip and strengthen your connection with your inner truth. If these insights resonate, like this video and subscribe to continue your journey of self. By engaging with this content, you commit to reclaiming your personal power, breaking free from egoic control, and stepping more fully into your authentic life. The journey of recognizing and understanding the ego is both challenging and liberating. By identifying its subtle patterns, observing its influence on thoughts, emotions, and behaviors, and integrating awareness into daily life, you can step beyond the domination of the ego. This allows your authentic self to guide your decisions, relationships, and personal growth. Living beyond egoic control is not about eliminating the ego. It is about balancing it, using its structure and awareness without letting it dictate your life. As you continue to observe, reflect, and act consciously, the ego gradually becomes a tool rather than a controller, freeing you to live with clarity, presence, and true personal power. If this video helped you recognize the patterns of the ego in your own life, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share in the comments which aspects of your ego you're ready to face. By engaging with your unconscious patterns, you open the door to authentic living, personal transformation, and the awakening of your true potential.